Welcome to the Church of the Week program on AM 630, The Word. Each week, we highlight a different local church or ministry impacting our community. Now let's welcome our Church of the Week host, Chad Schapiro, and today's guest.
Hey everybody, this is Chad Schapiro. Thankful to be host of Church of the Week here on AM 630 The Word. You can also find it on KSLR.com. I have the blessing of being able to work with Texas Baptist, which is a state convention with churches all around this beautiful state of ours, as well as lead Pastor Strong, which is a holistic health for pastors. And I get to work with my brother that's right here. He's part of Texas Baptist too. And he is an incredible partner down here in this area in our region, dealing with church planting, but more than that, he's just a great brother and leader for our convention and for our city. So Daniel, thank you for being here. Daniel De Leon. So I want him to maybe let's get into just before you got this great role of helping all of these incredible church planners. And if you are one, you definitely need to reach out to him, and we'll talk about that. But how did you first come to faith? Did you grow up in a Christian household?
Hi. Yes. Thank you for having me today. Yes, I grew up in a Christian home, and so ever since I was a kid, and I've heard about Jesus, the Word, and I was just talking to someone right before now, and about how growing up, we always had a Christian radio station on at home.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And if we ever dared, changing the dial, my mother would, So yeah, I grew up, and then obviously, around 6, 7, I understood the gospel. But then at the age of my teenage years, I kind of went a little bit more serious about it, and then that's when I decided to get baptized.
Yeah.
And the
What
church we
age
were
was
attending.
that?
12.
12.
Yes,
Man.
I was 12.
So
yes.
everybody's got different testimonies, and I love it. Some people will think, when I'm in church that young, I need to go get wild and crazy. And then some people will think, I don't need to. Your story, did you ever fall away from the Lord, or did you?
Well, I want to say that yes, maybe not officially, but
Yeah.
but yeah.
What does that mean?
Well, I would say that everybody would think that I'm still, but in my mind or
you're struggling
emotionally,
with
I
it.
was
Yeah.
struggling with questions and things like that. But I was always there. I've been always been, in church. About what you just said, yeah, I remember that on one occasion during baptisms, one of the girls said, "I don't want to get baptized because I still want to do stuff," So,
And my friends, I thank God for stories like yours of not doing that stuff. I think sometimes we glamorize sin, and we think, I need to have a
That's true.
crazy story, or it's fun,
Yeah,
or whatever. But man, it can ruin your life. So those of you guys who are listening that are struggling with sin and afraid that the Lord's going to take away your toys or something like that. It's not a toy. This sin stuff is no joke. It can ruin your life. And so God's not trying to take away anything from you. He's trying to deliver you from something that can just tear our lives inside out. And so thank God that your family was helping you there to continue. So you got baptized at 12, and then I know you have an incredible life of serving the Lord.
Sure. Yeah, it's been amazing. So, and I don't know, I grew up in Mexico in the border town of Reynosa. And so there back then, I'm talking 90s, early 90s, mid 90s. So we had these youth groups coming to the city of Reynosa to do ministry. And so there were groups from the north part of the United States, Canada, including every summertime. And I was invited to work with them to be a translator, to interpret from English into Spanish and go to the colonias, the neighborhoods there. And that was I was 18, 19, and was one of my first experiences doing ministry, and seeing others work, serve, share the gospel, doing vacation Bible school. And I was just there watching and translating, from one language to another. That was pretty much fun, a lot of fun, but it was also very encouraging to see others coming from so far away to share their faith, to share with people that they didn't know,
Yeah.
and do something for them. So that was very impactful.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. So then you were down there, and then you ended up now working with Texas Baptist.
Yeah.
But when you were first starting to get active in the ministry, how did you feel God's call for you to maybe do it vocationally?
Well, that's an interesting question because when you grow up in a country like Mexico, like vocational ministry, I want to say does not really exist.
Yeah,
Right?
right.
Either you are a doctor, you're a lawyer,
Yeah.
you are whatever, but not a pastor.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
guess.
yeah.
But anyway, so I was there. I got a degree, and I started working. Obviously, ever since I was the age of 15, I kind of started, doing ministry, helping with youth groups, not only in my church, but also, with other churches in the city. And but also, I love singing, and my pastor heard me sing one time. He said, "You should be a worship leader." So I've
Man,
got
how
some
many of you
experience
guys
with
want-
that as well.
How many of you guys want to hear him sing right now?
I don't think so. Well, Ben,
I
so
mean,
many.
anybody raise your hand if
years
you're on
ago.
social media or if you are not right now.
I don't think so.
Oh man, because I can't do it.
It's been some
They'll shut
years.
the radio. They'll the FCC violation or something if I started singing. They'll be like, no.
I want for you to keep your audience.
Yeah, we can't do that. But Daniel, he sings. So, but we're not going to do that. Not today.
So,
Maybe next time.
that was a great experience. I was a worship leader at our church there in Mexico from 15 to 25 for 20 years.
Wow,
10 years I
bro,
was a
that's
worship
great.
leader. And we got to a point in which, so I took singing lessons, and my brother was taking guitar lessons.
yeah.
So we made it pretty professional. So it was good. It was
Wow,
nice,
that's
yeah.
awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. So how did you end up starting to work with Texas Baptist? How did that get started?
Yeah, so basically, I felt called by God to do maybe a study for ministry. Since my mother was a very faithful listener of Radio Esperanza in South Texas, that radio station is in Spanish, and so basically the radio station belongs to the Bible College.
Okay.
And so obviously they promote the
Yeah.
Bible College. And ever since the 80s, when I was a kid, I would listen to,
Oh, yeah.
their programming,
Promotions
their
about it, talking
promotions and
about
all that. And I
school.
was like, I never thought I was going to be called to be, a minister.
Yeah.
And so when I felt called into ministry, I was in my early 20s, but I was already, I had a degree in engineering,
Yeah.
an engineering degree.
So
And
you're
I
one of
said,
those
well,
smart guys.
I
Engineering
hope.
background. No, he is for sure. That's
Yeah.
great.
So, long story short, I completed my degree in Bible studies there in the Rio Grande Bible College in Edinburgh. And when I completed that degree on graduation day, one of the staff members, Dr. David Loyola, invited me to be part of the staff
Oh,
of the
wow.
Bible College. And that's how,
Graduation day.
on graduation day, he knocked on my door in the dorm and he said, "Hey, would you be interested in working for us?" And I was like, "Well, I need to pray about it." Very spiritual,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
I
yeah.
need to pray about it before I give you an answer. And so I remember that after that, I returned to Mexico, to Reynosa, and started kind of like knocking on doors to see if there were ministry opportunities. So I ended up coming back to Texas and working for them for 10 years. So in the last part of that period of 10 years, I got to know Noe Trevino.
Oh, yeah, man.
And
He's
he
amazing.
connected me
Yeah.
with Texas Baptist.
Yeah.
That's how I kind of like got, in more.
And so he would have been in your role now,
Yes.
which is, can you describe that role?
Yeah, so right now what I do is the title is Church Starting Strategist. And so basically what I do is I connect, do networking, but I basically connect with men that I call by God to start new churches in the region that I am assigned to, which is the southern tip of Texas, including San Antonio.
Yeah. And so what what kind of resources, if somebody's listening right now and maybe they have a church, um, would it be considered a plant if it's already active? Like, how do you look at that? When is the best time for them in their calling to be able to reach out to somebody like you for support?
Yeah, well, basically, the easy question would the easy answer would be if they started a church and they have not connections and they have been by themselves doing it. I would really love to connect with you or with those guys. But also, if particularly if you've done it for less than 2 years, I want to say,
Hmm.
we would really be able to help
Yeah.
with resources, with connections, funding. But yeah, I want to say 2 years. If it's more than that, it would be a little difficult. But
Yeah.
I would encourage those that are listening to give us a call or send us an email.
Yeah.
We'll share that a little later.
Yeah. Share it
And
now if you could.
yeah, well, if
Your
you're
email
interested
address.
in learning more, my email is Daniel.DeLeon, that's DELEON, at texasbaptists.org. Daniel.DeLeon at texasbaptist.org.
So just to be able to start the conversation, to be able to go forward. And I know when I first started, I did not even understand that much about Texas Baptist or Baptist in general. So they may be feeling like, well, I didn't grow up in a Baptist church. Maybe I can't connect with them. How would you respond to that? How would you encourage them still to?
Well, basically, yeah, we get those guys that say, "Well, I'm not a Baptist." Well, I would encourage you to still connect with me.
Mhm.
What in my experience doing in this role, what I've seen is that some of those men that have not grown in in the Baptist background, they have a little bit of baptism themselves.
Without
So
knowing, maybe.
without knowing,
Yeah.
yeah, because what
The,
we live
the
in,
faith.
the
Yeah.
faith, what we have, the authority of the Bible, salvation in Jesus Christ, the authority of the church. Those are Baptist distinctives that a lot of other groups or people will live in, and church planters are okay with, with connecting with organizations that believe in that. So
Yeah.
I would encourage you to uh, connect with us anyways to see if
It
we
is
could work together.
my wife and I, we were in a YMCA basically, with a small little church plant. Not familiar with Texas Baptist at all, and what a blessing to be able to be trained, supported, have a family. If you're out there on your own as a pastor, without all that help, you may feel like, hey, at least I get to run the show. But like you mentioned, with the autonomy
Hmm.
of the local church as one of the main faith
Right.
components of Texas Baptist,
That is right. Yeah.
so no one's going to come in there and be like asking you to submit your sermon to them.
That's
And
true. And some guys, I don't know, sometimes they might or somebody might have an perception of, oh, if I connect with the Baptists, they're going to ask me to do this or that. We're not going to ask you to do anything like that, or we're not going to ask you to change your worship
yeah.
style or your preaching style or anything like that.
Yeah. So you're listening to AM 630, The Word, Church of the Week. It's also on KSLR.com. My name's Chad Schapiro, blessed to be the host. And I'm sitting here with Daniel De Leon, church starting catalyst of Texas Baptist, where I have the blessing of being able to work with as well. And we're talking about being a church plant, having support, having help, the independence that you may feel by yourself. And one thing that I always think about, Daniel, is when the pastor wants to be independent, but he wants all the people in the church, right, to be submitted to authority and to be able to plug in to community, we should model that. I mean, we get to model that with Texas Baptist of being not under authority of somebody else, but at least in community and in cooperation with other incredible ministries around the city. And there's a lot of churches
Hmm.
here in the city that are part of Texas Baptist and the state. All of that together helps support you in different ways. Can you talk about, again, lean into some of the support that we offer?
Yeah. So, and I want to say something basically like the simple fact of connecting with other people that are doing what you're doing,
Yeah,
that's
it was so
awesome. I mean, like it's so helpful because as a church planter, you have questions, you probably you're new, or maybe you have studied, or you have resources available. But it is always good to connect with somebody else who's doing what you're doing, right?
for sure.
Maybe not in the same area of town where you are at, but somewhere else, or maybe across the state of Texas. But that's some of the things that we could offer. The connection, the experience. If you have questions about discipleship, evangelism, I mean, we offer that, and we have people that are experienced in those topics and those aspects of ministry that are willing and able to help you as well.
And let me say this too. I get so excited about this topic. So like church planting, most people don't know anything about that. And so if you're trying to do that as a pastor of a church plant, even pastors that that you might have been raised up in their church, I one time had somebody tell me that 97% of pastors probably don't know what it's like to plant. And I was like, what do you mean? It's like, well, they went to seminary and they got their resume and they got a great job at a church and had a building, and you're sitting there all on your own, trying to make it happen there. And that's how much we need to be around other people. And if you're not going to be around people like Daniel and other church planners, then where are we getting our advice from? The people in the congregation that I remember people thinking, why isn't it 500 people here? You've been doing it for 3 years. I'm like, oh, we only have 80 people, oh man. And I felt like such a failure, right? Then I talked to other church planners and they're like, 80 people, that is amazing, right? Like we were sitting here trying, and we only, but it's just, how are you going to know that kind of stuff? And so thank God. And then the training and support, that are there on behalf of Texas Baptist, some of the other tools that we get to work with, right? Like Pastor Strong, which is there to help with marriage retreats and different things that I get the opportunity to serve with Kevin Abbott and the whole team, women leaders in ministry that are a big part of it with Benny Bryan, and so many different tools, revitalization that is a whole branch of Texas Baptist, and evangelism, and all these incredible things, to be able to serve.
And for instance, now that you mentioned that, we just had an assessment, and I know that the word assessment might sound a little heavy for some people, but it's basically a time to discover your gift. I mean, if you're a church planter, one of the things you're going to be asked to go through is an assessment, and in that assessment, the planter and his wife will go and they will discover their gifts. They will be able to get to know themselves a little bit more, and see if in what areas we can help them or reinforce them to do their ministry better, and with excellence.
Yeah, the gifting of us is so important. We don't think about that. We often covet the gift of a mentor or something. We think, oh man, they touched my life in such a way, that pastor, and I want to be like them. But what if we're not like them? What if we're wired totally different? Doesn't mean that you wouldn't be a pastor, but you should know your own gifting as well as the people in your church. If you're not aware of your own gifting, you might not be that aware of the gifting of people in your church, and you're treating them all like yourself, but they might be very different. And so it's good to know all of that stuff to be able to go help in different ways. So when people are sitting there kind of weighing their different options about what to do, what are some of the objections you sometimes hear that you think are you'd love to answer that one? When people are asking you about coming on board with Texas Baptist, what are some of the struggles they may have initially until they find out the answer?
Well, some of the struggles they face is they don't know if we are the right options, option to them. And so I just tell them, hey, well, this is what we offer. If you want to learn more, let me know, and I'm available to you. And I can one of the first things I do actually is connect them to the Baptist Association, to the local Baptist Association.
Yeah, thank God for
because that way
Baptist Association.
They'll hear other pastors, you know. And sometimes what happens is we might have a guy that is called to plant from a Baptist church, so he knows he's connected already. But in most cases, we get those guys that are like what I used to call lone rangers.
Yeah.
They're by themselves. So and they don't know me, and we might probably we probably met at an event or church planting event or whatever. And one of the first things I do, I love connecting people. That's one of my gifts. I connect you with resources. I try to get you in a network so that you can have the support you need. Yeah. And one of the blessings that we have here in San Antonio is the San Antonio Baptist Association. I'm very thankful for them because that way they have resources, local resources as well, not only in a state convention, whose headquarters are in Dallas, but we have somebody here, not only me as a representative of the convention, but we also have a local Baptist associations representing another group of churches that are open and willing to help and support those guys that are being called into ministry, particularly to start new churches in the city of San Antonio.
Yeah, and they have probably about 400 churches that are part of the association just in San Antonio. And so what a great way to be able to connect. How does that work together? If somebody's like, how does local and state, do they work hand in hand? How does that all work? What would you say?
Well, basically, that's a good question. And that's something that particularly with guys that are new to the Baptist world, that's a question I have to answer. So basically, I want to say we have a national convention, which is the SBC, Southern Baptist Convention, and then we have a state convention, and then we have the local association, but we have the church. All of those exist for the church. It's not that one is above the other. We have chosen to work together for missions to share the gospel across the states, across across Texas, particularly here, but yeah, basically there's an organization, nationwide, statewide, and then we have a local association which connects with the purpose of connecting churches, basically, and do ministry together and serve, the people so that they can get to know the Lord Jesus Christ.
Amen. What would you say are some of the challenges church planners have?
Some of the challenges would definitely, I want to say maybe lack of experience or expertise. Another one is the lack of funds.
Oh yeah,
that's all the time.
Yeah,
I want to list that one as the first one, but anyway, I wanted to go more
spiritual. It's so true.
Lack of funds because you are it's a church, a nonprofit organization. You're not there to make money.
Yeah,
and it's hard. So. That's why
we've got building expenses at the beginning. There's are you working a full-time job? If you are, full-time job requires full-time effort, time usually, and so the less time to do ministry and different things. There's equipment and everything that's set up.
There's equipment, and if you wanted to connect with the community, there's expenses, outreach. You have to, whatever you want to offer is not for free most of the time. You have something you have to purchase somewhere
to love them,
to serve them and to love them. That's true.
Yeah.
So that's one of the challenges. Another challenge that we've seen, it's a location. Find a place to gather. That's another challenge that they face these days.
And those are all things I've seen you do a lot of great work with. So thank you for that. That's part of your connecting, and that's part of your heart, and that's part of what in a beautiful city like ours with so many churches and being able to help network and serve one another. That's great.
True. That's true.
It's just a lot to it, and we don't want to get slowed down at all for what God is doing in and through you. So it's worth reaching out to Daniel to be able to figure out. And maybe you're in a church where you're not the pastor, but your pastor might fit. Maybe it's a couple years and you've got a small body of believers that are gathering, but some more resources would really help. Tell them again how to get a hold of you.
Yeah, my email address is daniel.deleon@texasbaptist.org. The word Texas Baptist is plural at the end, one Baptist, two Baptists.
Yeah, because
.org.
because there's many churches, and we would love to be
Yeah.
able to partner with you. We all can do more together. We can plant more churches. We can help make more disciples. We can reach our communities and serve the hurting, the broken, the frustrated, the stressed that we're called to do. And we would love to be able to work with you. So thank you, my friend, for being on here. You did an amazing job.
Thank you.
God
My
bless you guys.
pleasure.
Reach out to Daniel. Take care. God bless.
Thanks for joining us this week for Church of the Week. Please visit us online at am630theword.com for more information or to listen to previous Church of the Week programs. If you would like to recommend your church be featured on a future program, please email us at churchoftheweek@kslr.com.